and it's always a mess at the very last second of the day. Well, from Studio A in Texas, USA, welcome to the In Wheel Time Car Show, the award-winning all things automotive car talk show. On today's 2-hour program, it's the 4th of July mashup. And boy, is it a mashup. Need tires? Confused with all the ads and the hype from the tire stores? Well, our expert, Mr. Jeffrey Zekin, sorts it out. Mr. Mars goes to the Wayback Machine to talk about drag racing history in the Houston area, and Mike Satterfield joins us for a look at the Groesbeck Grand Prix coming up. Inside our new car showroom are the Alfa Stelvio SUV. I had a chance to drive that. I think that you're going to be impressed just like I was when I got to drive it. And Mr. Mars is going to talk about the Mercedes-Benz AMG
GLC 4.3.
Yeah, well, because Mr. Mars told me that it's a CLC. So I'm going with the CLC. It's his own version of the GLC. We'll give you. Here he is, Conrad DeLong, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate
in the living color.
Well, I'm in all white today.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It's before Labor Day, so you can still wear all white.
With your white pumps. But at any rate, we're also going to talk to, I think we're going to talk to Gina Child-Knowles, who also has a kind of a preview for us about a program that's going to be available to all of us online beginning at 3 o'clock this afternoon. And it's kind of a recap of the race that took place a couple of weeks ago that Jeff and I got to watch. But they've re-edited that. And so it'll give us all something to do for the 4th of July to get our racing bug fixed.
Hear, hear.
Yeah, there's that. So we're going to start off this show because I thought, you know, everybody's got a sale. Everybody. Furniture, draperies, flooring.
Mattresses.
Tires.
Yeah.
Tires. Everybody's got a 4th of July sale.
Jeff's here to make us tired.
And since a lot of people apparently are out going to do their vacation driving this year as opposed to being cooped up on an airplane with COVID-19 worries, they're hitting the road.
Hook.
Yeah.
That's the thing. You know, sales aren't about fact. Sales are about emotion. You know, if they can get you emotional, you're more likely to buy something.
Exactly and you know how emotional I can be. But I can fall into that just like anybody else can.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, let's talk to Jeff about that. And really, the way to buy a tire is not on emotion, but it's on fact.
Well, and Conrad's right, absolutely. They base everything on emotion. And there's times of the year also because you've
Move that microphone closer.
There you go.
That's fine.
It not only is it emotion, but it's how they want to present it.
Yes.
Got a little scratchy in here?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
That's me over here scratching.
Okay.
Yeah. Like the dog.
Okay.
Yes, so continue.
So it's a matter of time of year also because springtime, summertime, the tire manufacturers also rely on what the retail sales, you know, your Firestones, your Goodyear stores, your discount tires, your dealerships. Each one of them have an incentive program through the manufacturers as well. So you're looking at generally March is the kickoff of the first sale of
selling
tire.
season.
Exactly. End of February, beginning of March, and then they try to coincide with some of the like the March Madness that we didn't have, but that's generally one of the big primary things.
We've all been going mad since March.
Exactly. Well, so far as the sporting events, they want to tag on that. And then, of course, racing season. You've got drag racing. You've got NASCAR. You've got Formula One. You've got IMSA. Those are all parts of the season that they want to exploit, I guess you want to say, so far as tire sales. And then now we're into
summer vacation.
June and July summer vacation.
Right.
And then looking forward
kind of
to
the summer car tune-up. Make sure your car's right before you hit the
not only
road.
the tune-up, but you've got what Randy Shannon does with his car clubs and Nifty 50s and things like that. All the cruises that you and I went on a cruise, and then there's the racing and such. And then moving into the fall season where it's back to school. And then you've got the college student that's got their first car. Maybe
so there's always a reason to buy tires.
Always a reason to buy tires. Not only that, you've got the in-between where you've got maybe somebody didn't take advantage of that. And then there's, I've got to go, the need to buy tires. And then there's also.
Hold on. Try again.
He's cleaning the dust off of the rheostat over there.
Yes, I am.
That's fine. But then there's the off season where folks, oh my gosh, I missed that sale. I'm gonna need tires.
So let's break it down.
Okay.
First of all, what is the lifetime of a tire, forget the tread life, but the lifetime of a tire, where you hear about dry rot and that sort of, you don't go past a certain period of time with a tire, no matter what the tread looks like.
It's not like a good wine that an old vintage is good.
It's better, right? So you're talking about like shelf life or just
Well,
on
no,
the car?
Yeah, shelf life.
on your car. So I bought a new car 5 years ago. We've really only put about, 20,000 miles on it. We've still got plenty of tread left on it. Is it time to buy new tires because it's 5 years old?
I would be looking. Absolutely, yes.
Why?
I would be looking. Well, because tires deteriorate. They not only deteriorate on the outside. You've got what we've talked about before on previous shows where the sun can deteriorate it as well. From the outside, you get that little spider cracking. Surface cracking. They also deteriorate on the inside. Even though you can't see it, you've maybe hit a curb every now and then, or maybe hit that pothole that you went, oh gosh, you kind of tensed up.
Or
and hit
drove 7 or 8 pounds low for a couple of days.
Exactly. Well, that tire deteriorates and it turns into like a powdery
Dust.
substance, dust, so to speak. So you can actually tell. I'm looking at Michael here.
When something gets old, we look at Mike.
And dusty. Sorry, Mike.
I think that would fall into the dusty muffin category, wouldn't it? That's another story for
totally
another
different
day.
show.
If you have
Yeah.
a tire that is a problem, and you can actually take the tire off the rim and check the inside of the tire to see if it's been damaged from the inside. Belt separation and things, you don't always feel that. You don't always feel that wobble when you're driving down the road, and you know that you could feel that in the seat of your pants sometimes.
Well, the one thing that I can think of is that most people don't have a road car. It's a car that
Right.
you drive back and
It's your
forth to
daily
work.
driver,
Right.
right.
And so we're now going to go on a prolonged road trip. Let's just say to Wisconsin, 1,200 miles, Houston, Texas, up to Milwaukee. Okay, and for most people that they mainly put that into a 2-day time period. Well, I remember distinctly growing up that we would go from Wisconsin down to Alabama to visit relatives
Oh,
down
my
there.
gosh, that's a haul.
That is a haul. But we made it in 2 days. We made a 2-day trip out of it, so it didn't get too tiresome for all of us. And it never failed. We were using used cars at the time to make the haul, and there would be something like an alternator, or we'd have a flat tire. I think that was more common back then, and not so much today. But to take that element of a flat tire or a bad tire or a bubble on the side of the tire or a tire that's out of balance out of the equation, it increases your chances of not having a stress-filled problem
Trip, right,
car.
right.
That all I can think of is what a pain.
And it's just something as simple as checking the air pressure. We had a Facebook. You and I were involved in that. We had a viewer asking on Facebook about tire pressures this past week. And they explained that they checked the tire pressure and they wanted to make sure that the level was to where it was.
They checked it cold,
Right.
and all tires were balanced.
Right.
And then when he checked it hot, 2 of the tires were 2 pounds higher
They were a little off,
than
right.
the others. Just an imbalance in that.
But see, that level is actually quite normal. And the first thing you have to do is make sure you've got a gauge that you trust. When
That's
we talked about
accurate,
that,
right.
that exactly accurate, or you can trust
Right.
that it is accurate. And we went through that in a few segments ago, months or so ago on that. Get an accurate a gauge that you're comfortable with.
And you don't have to spend a lot of money
No,
on
you
one.
don't.
No,
Not
no,
at
no,
all.
no, no.
Anywhere from $4 or $5,
And
$10.
these digital gauges these days are great.
Exactly. And you keep it in the glove box all the time.
Yep.
Check your tires every other fuel tank.
Right.
And that would be a good practice. If you check your mileage, and everybody wants to know how best mileage they get, do it at that time. But once you check them cold and you do run them, say you've got a daily trip, or say you do your Alabama trip from wherever, let it cool down, check them the next morning before you get on the road, and if there's any deviation on it, that's when you know that you got to fill the tire.
Yeah.
Low tire pressure is your worst enemy because it builds up heat, and then the heat creates friction, and the friction will lose.
And that's what causes that, to me, part of the dust issue inside the tire.
Exactly.
Because when you run on a low tire, the tire is not fully inflated through the sidewall, so it's got a bend in it.
Right.
So it's kind of like, when you take a piece of metal and you bend it and you bend it and you bend it,
And it finally
and it
breaks.
weakens that
Yep.
metal. The
Exactly.
same thing happens to a tire. That sidewall crushes, and that's where that dust comes
Well,
from.
not only sidewall, but you can get it actually on the belt side, on the tread side as well. So that all interacts. So yes, low tire pressure is the enemy. But getting back to that
And high tire pressure can be as well, because
absolutely.
then you wear out the center of the tread.
You wear out the center of the tread. But make sure you got a gauge you can trust.
Well, the other thing is, too, speaking of tire pressures, on these new cars that we get to drive all the time, I noticed that the tire pressures are now starting to go up. Not, I mean, what the manufacturer is calling for. They're calling for more pressure in the tires. The truck that I had the other day, 60-pound PSI.
On an LT, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
And it was probably a D-rated tire, not a C-rated.
I don't know, but all I can tell you is, in the Cadillac out there, I think it's like at 35 pounds instead of 32 or 30.
Well, and that because it's a larger gross weight vehicle, and yes, they're going to manufacture that because it's got Michelin's on it. I checked that almost immediately.
Of course you did.
He's always checking tires.
The Michelin's, that's what they require for that vehicle. Now, that's an XT, that's 6.
Yes.
So you look at the 5 might be different, and the 4 might be different, and then you can move up to the Escalade, which is the big daddy of that, is probably going to be different as well.
So let's talk about these sales and and I know that from past experience with you, you always recommend the fact that you go with what the manufacturer originally put on the car. Now, 5 years ago, that tire today may be called something else,
right,
but it is still from the manufacturer the same type of tire that they had 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Isn't that correct?
Right. Yeah, the LISI, load index, speed index ratings, should be the same.
In the UPC rating.
Exactly. Now, I'm big on that. I've kind of gotten away from that in a little sense that, yes, because the manufacturers now are all, if you were to draw a line with a pencil, and that pencil lead line is all the quality of all the tire manufacturers. There's no vast changes, like, a big EKG or something. There's nothing like that anymore. They all have to abide by the same rules of the DOT, and the DOT is pretty strict on that, especially when it comes to recalls or campaigns to bring the tires back.
Right.
So I kind of went away from that a little bit. As long as you get the proper size and the LISI, it doesn't matter the manufacturer to me at this point. I would prefer sticking with the manufacturer, but if you can't do that, then you've got something to fall back on.
So not only you look at the size of the tire, but the LSI?
Yeah, LISI, load index, speed index rating.
Okay, and that's readily available?
Yes, and it's also in the tire. Some tires are H, which I believe H, correct me if I'm wrong, is about 130 miles an hour. So it's,
and then I think it's S is 112.
Okay, S is right. You're right. S and then H, and then it goes into a T, and then you get your performance.
And then there's a V, which is 150.
V's and W's and Z's.
But that letter designation is the tire's highest speed rating.
Right.
And each letter designation gives any car that has that letter designation has that max speed rating for the tire. So the manufacturers have to match the tire to the vehicle.
Right.
So like my son's Yukon, has an S-rated tire on it, which is good to 112 miles an hour. Well, the truck has, in the calibration of the truck, is speed limited to 108 miles an hour because it's got a 112-mile tire. So that all ties together with how the manufacturer specs a tire.
Right. It's a calculation on again, we talked about the weight, what you're using the vehicle for, performance, engine size, and things of that nature.
So if you got a family car, go with that.
Right.
You don't need to get some higher speed rated tire because it looks good or whatever. Because once you leave the mounting place, wherever it is you have your tires mounted and balanced, you're not really going to pay any attention to what they look like unless you actually just do an inspection of the tire itself.
And then when you get in that car and you drive away and you feel, oh, that feels so good, you kind of goes away.
Yeah.
You kind of you forget about it.
It's like putting premium in a non-premium car.
Yeah, it might make you feel good for a short period of time, but there really isn't any
Well,
true
it's so
benefit
funny
of
for
it.
me personally. You go into some place, a retailer like a Discount Tire or something, and they got stacks of tires, and it's all shined up and pretty, and it smells like tire smell in there. And all they're doing
Isn't that
is really,
great?
yeah, playing on your emotion. Because, hey, man, I got this truck. Oh, there's a mutter set of tires over there. But have you heard what that mutter set of tires sounds like doing 30 miles an hour down Main Street?
And it all starts when you pull up. And I know the Discount does this because I've dealt with Discount, and then some of the dealerships, the first thing they do is walk you out to the car. and they look at the tires and they talk to you about the tires. How do you like these? Now, I had a set of tires on a vehicle where I knew they were cheap. I bought them just to get by years ago. And first thing they said, well, how do you like these tires? I said, well, they suck. They're bad.
Well, that's pretty definitive.
Yeah, exactly. Those tires suck.
What else you want to know?
Yeah.
He goes, so you're not going to get these? No, because I got them here, and I'm not buying these again. Just, long story short is I didn't end up buying them. So that's what they do. They walk out to the car. They want to inspect the vehicle. They want to check the tread depths in 3 different places, like we're supposed to do in the tire industry.
Across the
tread of the tire. And then they talk to you about it. Well, what do you use your car for? And they kind of eyeball the car. Is it full of dents? I mean, is it just a grocery getter? Is it a soccer mom's car? How are you using the vehicle?
Kind of get an evaluation of the vehicles
Exactly.
because that they know what direction they want to go and how they sell you.
And they're thinking of a price point already in a good, better, best scenario. So.
And when you drive in with a McLaren or a Corvette, and they're like, "Ooh,
they're gonna go. Ooh, can I drive it?
$700 a tire car."
He had to go there. He had to bring up the Corvette. He just had to. All right, so to wrap things up,
Because his tires are old and he needs to get them replaced.
not yet, but we're
getting there.
Yeah, they're getting there. But to wrap things up, I wanted to make it a point that really the best thing for you to do is look and see what the car came with. Mm-hmm. If you bought a used car, chances are that it's probably had a different set of rubber put on it since you've bought the car or since the car was new. Go and see what the car originally came with. Then do your homework on that particular brand, that model, that style, that speed rating, all that sort of stuff.
You may not find the actual manufacturer of it because they do. I mean, a Goodyear makes a Goodyear, and then you can go to an off-brand. You can go to a Walmart or Costco and find a Goodyear.
Well, and
not necessarily the same.
And on a Chevrolet truck, on a 2019 Chevrolet truck, that same 1500 truck may have come with Hankooks, Goodyears, or Bridgestones on it,
There's
just from the same manufacturer.
And
but they all have a UPC spec
To this
tire.
day, I mean, if you look at a Mustang on a UHP, ultra high performance tires, UHP, a Mustang would be a Yokohama or a Michelin, or even now they're back to the Firestone on a particular Mustang.
But shop your prices.
Exactly.
Always shop your prices because prices vary.
To your budget.
And, you had opened up your segment talking about dealerships sell tires.
Right.
Well, most dealerships and a lot of tire shops out there have a tire match policy.
Right, they do.
So if you can find that price somewhere else and lay it in front of them, they're going to match that price.
You don't necessarily have to do that. They'll do it for you. They'll look it up. Hey, I went to ABC Tire Store and I found this XYZ tire, and they'll pull it up. Well, yep, you're right.
And they'll match you dollar for dollar.
Yep.
Jeff Zekin, our tire guru, talking about vacation tires for your vacation. You may be on it or maybe getting ready to go on it. I know our engineer, David Ainsley, he's headed out of town for a couple of weeks. Going to go up to Michigan. In a rental car, yeah. So anyway, Jeffrey, thank you very much.
I like what you've done with the decor here.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Jeff visited.
Jeff is our interior designer and videographer.
Yeah, and yes, fashionista. Jeff Zekin. All right, thank you, sir.
And our Kalachi King.
That too. A review of the Alfa Stelvio coming up next on the In Wheel Time Car Show right after this quick break.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to the In Wheel Time Car Show. 4th of July, as you can tell, Jeff's done his homework and went down to the store and got us some USA. Right on USA. Time now for this hour's car review. I had a chance to drive the Alfa Stelvio. Oh my gosh, I haven't fallen in love with a car like this in forever. That interior, it just rocks it. The actual vehicle rocks it. Here's the review. 20 Alfa Stelvio. It comes in rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, TI all-wheel drive, and the Quadrifoglio. That Quadrifoglio, whew, that's a car. The reviewed trim level that I happen to have was the TI Sport all-wheel drive. Small SUV. Seats 5. Exterior changes from last model year. It was all new in 2018. It is built on the Giulia platform, which is the four-door sedan. So this is a true crossover. Exterior features, noticeable Scudetto grille. Do you know what
Scudetto? No.
Scudetto.
Is that little nose thing that's
the
Alfa
little
Romeo does?
That's called the little shield. In Italian, Scudetto is the little shield.
Proboscis.
Okay. Bumper wide lower grille underneath the Scudetto. Porsche style fastback hatch. Coffee can sized exhaust tips.
Yeah, they are.
Exhaust tips were that big. They were huge. What I liked about it, the overall sporty design with the sculpted sides. Interior, sexy, sporty design with high quality materials. Center console has the phone charger. It's passive. You don't have to plug it in. Side bolster, race style seats, huge. Paddle shifters, they're not plastic either. Cargo trunk room is small. This is a sports car in the form of a crossover, an SUV. What I liked about it, the compact, sporty, really cool feel of the interior. Truly amazing. What could use improvement? The infotainment system does have a learning curve, but once you get to know it, works great. Engine, 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with 280 horsepower out of this little thing.
Wow.
306 pound-feet of torque. Now, the Quadrifoglio, 505 horsepower from a 2.9-liter turbocharged V6. It's quite pricey, however, but boy, I would have loved to have gotten into that. Transmission, 8-speed automatic. If you want to tow something with this, go find something else.
Yeah, this isn't.
This is not something. I guess it'll tow something, but why? This is not what it's all about. This is a sports car lifted up in a SUV style.
And you see more and more manufacturers are doing those sport SUVs as well.
This thing is bad to the bone, man. I am telling you, if you're in the market for a sporty SUV crossover, this, you must go see it and you must drive it. 22 miles per gallon city, 28 highway for a combined of 24. I got 23.7 over 245 miles. I should have put more than that miles on it. I enjoyed that car. What I liked about it, the power to weight ratio kicks it. It does have a slight turbo lag. Got to get used to that. What I liked about the ride and handling, it has this thing called DNA. DNA. And it's a little knob on the center console, and it stands for dynamic, natural, or advanced efficiency. You put that thing in dynamic, and it's like turning on the turbochargers.
Kind of like a sport mode.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Base trim price, which is kind of surprising to me, $45,800. Now, the price is tested was $59,745, but this thing was loaded up. Base model price, you can get into one for $41,400.
That's a good price.
It is a good price. Competitors to this vehicle in base size and price, the Porsche Macan,
$50,000. Way more.
$50,900. The Mercedes-Benz GLC class, $42,500.
That's what Angela has.
And the Acura RDX for $37,800. That was about as close as I could find to this thing. But there really is no comparison. This really is a standalone kind of thing.
But it's an SUV that's got that Italian flavor to it. You know, that's where the Italian sports car really shows on that truck.
Dude, that interior is unbelievable.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, comparing it to the interior of what you're driving right now, it really has a panache, let's say.
Is that a panache or a panache?
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. I had that for dessert.
Yeah. That's our Jeffy. Okay, so I want to remind everybody that the In Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook.com/InWheelTime, on YouTube, and on InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeart Podcast, TuneIn, Google Podcast and Podcast Addict. We have the events calendar, and I think we're going to talk with Gina Child-Knowles about a special event this afternoon at 3 o'clock that you'll want to tune into. That's coming up right after a quick break here on In Wheel Time.
Let's be honest. The National Symphony may not be in his future, but he wanted to try violin. So you said yes because you love him. And if you love him that much, love him enough to make sure he's buckled up and in the back seat. Find out more about keeping your kids safe in your vehicle at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Social distancing slows the spread of coronavirus, so we should all stay home to lower the risk for everyone. More info at coronavirus.gov. Let's all do our part, because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's the In Wheel Time car show. Thank you for joining us on this 4th of July. We got our little 4th of July thing going on here.
I like the music.
Thank you very much. Kind of groovy, huh?
I was going to say kind of jazzy, maybe a little Al Jarreau-ish.
Okay. Yeah, it could be.
Spyra Gyra.
Okay.
That was the name of a band.
It
The name
was
of a jazz band.
Okay. Only you would know that. Do we have Gina ready?
Yes.
Oh.
Hello, Gina. Well, we got to get your sound turned on.
It's on.
Don's running the audio.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hi, Gina.
Hello, how are you guys?
Well, we're doing good. Gina, I want to talk to you briefly about an event that you've got going. I assume that it's online. Is that right?
It is. It is an online event. We have reworked the last race, and we're presenting it in a different style and adding some commentary to it and explaining some things.
I love it.
To race fans.
Yeah, yeah. And there'll be some special appearances by some special guests throughout that, I understand, as well.
Correct. I've collected some selfie videos that we're plugging in. We're just kind of trying a little bit different formula on the online style and that we have. We had extra cameras at the last race to get some different angles I wanted to experiment with that, and later down the line, plug them into the pay-per-view or the online experience.
Yeah.
And since we weren't racing, I went to Race on Texas and said, hey, can we rework that video and plug those in now? And they said, sure. And then Rodney did some narrations of some things I wanted to clarify and explain, like the cone. I don't know if y'all read that NASCAR is bringing the cone to Bristol, which, Don, you saw the cone.
Oh, my gosh. I love the cone.
Yes. That makes all the difference in the show for me.
It does. And it's so much better than this sucky segment thing that NASCAR's got going on. Not to put it down. It's just not. I'm not a big fan of that.
Right. It's confusing. The segment thing is very confusing.
It is.
What the cone did.
Yeah.
The cone, for like an example, in the modified race, Paul White, he got black flags sent to the back because of a gas cap. Someone forgot to tighten the gas cap.
Right.
So he went to the back. Well, the next caution came out, and he took the outside line and went straight back up the front, and he finished in the top 3.
So for the people, Gina, for people that don't understand, explain where and what this orange cone does.
Any time that there is a caution in a race, then once we get the lineup where it's supposed to be and they're going around the track, we bring out a cone. It's just the orange construction cone. It's laid at the start finish line, and as the racers approach, they have to decide, do they want to take the inside line, which is typically racers like, it's the fastest, way around
it's
the
the
track.
shortest
route around the track.
Yep. Or if you're in the back and your car's handling great, maybe they want to express on up to the front. If you're in 6th place and on the front 5 go in the inside lane, you could be on the outside pole.
Yeah.
Straight. So it shakes it up a little bit. It makes it more interesting. And then Bo he showed me an article that NASCAR was doing that at Bristol. And so I thought, yep, we're going to explain that, because we had a camera mounted on the cone as one of the angles I wanted to
Oh my gosh.
Yes. I remember. I watched the guy put that on there. I'm thinking, is he going to put the camera on there? Oh my gosh.
Yes, sir. I was excited to do that.
Don't hit the cone.
We did have someone hit the cone, but the camera survived.
Yeah, exactly. So I have to ask you, so where can we see this presentation this afternoon at 3 o'clock?
At 3, you just click onto NASCARHouston.com, and I have a big link. It says click here to watch online, and you click there.
Yep.
Are y'all there?
Yeah, we're here.
Me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. It takes you right to the video.
NASCARHouston.com, 3 o'clock today. How long is the show? Is it an hour, 2 hours?
It's about, we chopped up the races, so it should be probably a little over an hour. Not as long, because we just kind of took the races and then plugged in a few things. So,
perfect.
Yes, I'm excited about it. It's definitely a different format, and it's kind of something for us to learn from, because this is the direction I wanted to go with it.
Well, I'm excited about it. When you told me about it, I thought, well, we got to have Gina on. We got to have as many people watching as we possibly can. So, that's this afternoon at 3, NASCARHouston.com. Gina, it's great to talk to you. Thanks so much for taking the time out. We appreciate it, and we'll see you this afternoon at 3 o'clock.
All right, guys. Thank you guys for everything you do. I appreciate it.
Thank you, hon. Bye-bye. Calling all car, truck, and Jeep clubs. We'd love to feature your bunch in our car club spotlight. Just shoot us an email. That address is info@inwheeltime.com.
Give you a chance to come on the show on the phone or on Zoom. Show us who you are, what you do, and we know that a lot of clubs have a charitable association, and give you an opportunity to talk about them as well.
Yeah. So we'd love to hear from you. So please feel free to do that and include, obviously, your contact information, and we'll get your bunch on the show. In Wheel Time is going to continue right after this little snappy break.
Do you know what teens just love? Not being told what you're supposed to love. That's not anyone's business but yours. It doesn't matter what you love, but if you love it, click it. That includes you too. Because in 2018, 42% of Texas teens who died in traffic crashes were not wearing their seatbelts. Make sure everyone is buckled up. Every rider, every ride. Brought to you by the Texas Department of Transportation.
Texas Truck Works is your go-to truck customizer. From mild-to-wild lift kits, custom wheels, and steering and handling enhancements to the best personal and commercial wraps, Texas Truck Works delivers. Let Texas Truck Works founder Scott Stevens help you get the most out of your truck or Jeep. Texas Truck Works has decades of customizing experience, including power adders and complete engine swaps. Let the Texas Truck Works team design an upgrade plan that fits your budget. Get truck attitude today at TexasTruckWorks.com. Welcome, everybody, to America's award-winning car talk show, In Wheel Time, your weekly go-to all things automotive place, along with Mike Out of This World Mars down there and King Conrad along here. I'm Don Armstrong here. So glad that you could join us on this 4th of July as we celebrate, hopefully safely, all masked up, which we're not, but we're trying to social distance as much as we possibly can and do a, I was trying to think the other day, what exactly do you call our show? It's not radio. It's not video.
It's the award-winning automotive show in Houston.
It's
talk show.
It's video.
Video.
Uh-huh.
Very good.
Very video and radio. Audio. Video. Well, it is. I mean, so, and Jeff holding up a sign over there called porn. Okay, car porn.
Well, yeah,
That's
we're
what
going to go
it
with
is.
car
Yeah.
porn, yeah.
Car porn is it. All right, so what we've done is we've this is our 4th of July mashup show, so we're not really focused on one thing. Next week, by the way.
Yeah, Don, it's difficult for you to focus on any one thing for more than a minute or two.
Well, not only that, but I mean, leading in with anything that says porn, and it makes me nervous. And so
we're going to go a different direction.
I'm
in this segment.
I'm in the same room with these guys, and I'm good. We'll keep it on the car subject.
Please.
So Mr. Mars decided that he wanted to share with us, and actually it's pretty cool, I think, old school drag racing. And apparently, and I didn't know this when I met Mars, I just found out actually in the past year or so that Mr. Mars actually spent some time at a racetrack that I used to spend some time at called the East Tex Dragway up in Porter, Texas, up off of 59. Was that the closest drag strip to you?
Official drag strip, yes, because the Golden Triangle drag strip, which was there in town by us between Nederland and Beaumont, it shut down mid-'70s, 75, 76. I don't remember the exact year. About the time, right after we got out of high school.
Yep.
And then from there, you had to come either to Porter, to East Tex, or you came over to Dickinson. There was a track there. And then over in Lake Charles, they started running some stuff over there at the old Chenault Air Force Base. And we would go over there occasionally because a lot of the local alcohol funny cars and stuff, particularly out of Louisiana, would come down to there because they had a lot of room. So, yeah, technically it was. That was the closest one.
Huh.
Well, and what that took you, what, hour and a half, 2 hours to get over there?
Yep. And we would typically have 3 to 5 cars. We would caravan over. We didn't make it every weekend, but depending on which cars were still running by the time the weekend got there, because a lot of these were street cars, we'd run them on the streets back then.
Yeah. Well, of course we all did because we didn't have any money.
Yeah.
And my buddy Ross Putnam, he's the one that had the 55 Chevrolet Coupe that had the hopped-up engine in it, but most of the time it didn't run. And when he bent all the valves, the push rods, that was the end of that. But we would just go, as a bunch of us, in the Buick Skylark.
And do one-wheel burnouts.
And we would not. We would go all 5 of us, 6 of us sometimes, in this little bitty car, all the way up the East Tex Freeway out there to Porter, and park under the trees because there was no official parking lot.
No.
The parking lot is the pits. And so it was all in the trees, in the pine trees up there. And then the drag strip would just cut out in the middle of this pine tree forest. And that's all houses now.
And watch the races.
Yeah,
and we were in trucks with open trailers and stuff, so we bring barbecue pits and ice chests. They didn't care, and get out there and spend the day barbecuing and racing.
And the safety back in those days was not what it is today.
What safety?
Well, I'm sure it was a track, and all it had was Armco barriers on both sides.
Yeah.
Wasn't that correct?
Yeah, those things that
there were pine trees on the left-hand side going down the track.
Yeah.
That was a safety barrier. So, I got some pictures and stuff. We lost thousands of images, in Harvey, but I've got a few of them. And so we're gonna show them.
They're the boys there. You're taking the picture here.
No, that's me on the left. Now,
oh my God! Look at his hair. Was your hair red? Did you dye it red?
You got to remember,
this got a cap.
This picture's 50 years old now.
Yeah, right.
And this is an example of life's lessons. And I'm saying this is because one of the guys that was involved in all this passed away the last week. 2 days before he turned 62, and his car's in here, and I was putting something together, so I kind of got a little nostalgic. But this is kind of where we started. My littlest brother tore up that car while my parents were out of town. He lost control of it, centered punched a culvert in reverse, knocked the rear end out and everything. So we called, he was at the hospital. We had to call, and then Dad said, okay, it sounds like it's totaled. We said, okay. Well, we had a use for the engine, so we pulled it out before they got home. That's when I learned.
Before they got home, we pulled the engine out.
He said it was totaled.
Dad said, without looking at it, Dad said it was total. Well, forget it. We're not going to deal with that anymore. Just pull the engine out of it.
Exactly. That's when I learned that the insurance companies, when they total a car and they buy it, they want the whole car. They don't want just part of it.
So they said something to you about it.
It was a lesson learned. Letting right there.
Well, and another lesson learned is at least today you have a shirt on.
Yes, I do.
That's just today. Anyway.
So this is the 69 Chevelle that we were bringing over here to Porter and stuff. Big block, 4-speed, had slicks on it, and we were building it, thinking that we were hot rodders. Again, this is in the mid-'70s.
Looks like something out of Roadkill.
Well, it was something that we could afford to build and tear up.
Yeah.
Now, the guy that was helping me with this, my buddy on this, Wayne Curitan, we were working at his dad's shop. His dad always thought having an automatic was, that was a big deal. He moved up in the world when you could afford an automatic, so Wayne never really learned much about standards. So this is what he learned to drive a standard in, 4-speed.
Yes.
At one time, we had 456 gears in the rear end.
Oh, my Lord.
And, of course, it's a big car, and it's heavy, and 396s, 427. So we would go out on the street behind the shop to see how things were, and that's where I taught him how to drive this 4-speed manual transmission.
And you also learned the part about burning the tires off.
And that's right, to figure out how to do the slicks and all that stuff, and figure out how to launch it, because it was completely different, for a guy that grew up driving automatics.
Did it have a Positrack in it?
Not at this point. It didn't.
So
Just that one wheel burnout.
I'm
Yeah,
telling
one
you,
wheel
you know,
burnout,
we got some of those.
And
and
we
so-
rotate the tires, just swap sides.
Well, or you go through the ditch, and you know,
Oops.
that's where he lost it and kind of went off through the ditch. And that was one of the last times that he
That's
actually
the second
drove the
ditch
car.
story you told us about.
yeah, the other one, he backed it into the ditch.
Yeah, that was my little brother, and you know he did that.
Yes, on-ramp acceleration test.
So so this is the car we ended up going to the track. This is at East Tex there at Porter. You can see the pine trees and stuff off in the back. That's part of the area over there, and you can see how the cars are parked and all the people hanging around there. And
Nice.
that's really what it was. It was kind of a deal. You can see the right
There's
rear
the
tire
right
line.
rear tire line.
I was going to say, it's a little bit out of line there.
Well, there's a lot of stories that go with this, but if you look down the track, it's pine trees on both sides. It's a fence on the right, and that's where people would back up to and watch out of there. That's really where you would do your
Well, they had a
tailgating and
very
stuff.
small little football, like a 3-row viewing
Grandstand.
area.
Yeah, that was it.
grandstand. Yeah, that's it.
So it was kind of. This is Larry Netterville's car. This is one of the cars that go there. This is the
66
only
Chevelle.
picture I
Or
got of it.
66 Nova.
It's got a small block in it with a tunnel ram, but that's the only surviving picture out of all the floods and everything else. That was one of them that would go over there. So we had the Chevelle, we had the Nova.
Looks like he
And-
kind of trimmed the wheel wells to fit the slicks
Well, you do what you got to do, you know.
with a hacksaw.
So, and this is Tommy, the guy that just passed away. This is his 68 Chevelle. This is one of the other cars that went over there. He had a big block in it. Again,
That's a
4-speed.
pretty good-looking car there.
It had a really nice paint job on it, kind of a metallic brown. He was very meticulous about his cars and stuff. You know, it would run. He got it in low 13s, I think, is what he would dial in sometimes. Got a few extra pictures. There's the tower,
Yes, the tower.
That's
I
it.
remember the
And-
red tile roof.
and you got a fence on this side. You got part of a guardrail. Then you got the track, and then you got the pine trees on the far side. No, really, you couldn't park on the far side. They didn't let many people. They had the ambulance over there, so not too many people went over there. No concession stand.
Well, probably needed the ambulance on the tree side of
Yeah,
things.
you know, that's the way they could get down there. And Tommy's car, like I say,
What year do you
was
think that was, Mike? 75?
Now it was a little bit later than that. That's probably getting up closer to close to 80. This is the front engine dragster that the guys next door built. They come to all the races and stuff.
It's now a barbecue pit somewhere.
Yeah, small block Chevy, injectors, front engine. Built it in their garage. They went and got the chassis and all that
It's the
stuff.
rail job, man.
Yeah,
it's the
I'm
rail
telling you.
job.
So they built this car, and he actually, there's two brothers that went in together to do it. The other brother had a 70 Roadrunner he was racing. James, the older of the two, on the right in this picture where they're trying to get the injectors to work, he actually took the car to Dickinson to get his license to drive it in competition. Don Garlitz signed his license for
Oh,
him.
cool.
And unfortunately, he kept it in the glove box of the metallic red. I mean, metal flake, old school metal flake red El Camino he used to tow this thing with. And somebody stole it. The driver's license was in
Oh,
the glove
no.
box, so
Oh.
he lost the car
Great.
and that.
So is that like an old Hilburn injection system on this?
I believe it was. Yep.
Really?
It's single car
Well,
garage.
it wasn't old at the time.
Yeah, well, no, not at the time. Well, plus, you know, look at this. This is a front engine dragster, so you're straddling the transmission, bell housing,
No.
transmission, and you're
I got
sitting on
in it.
top of the differential.
That's it. You're sitting on top of the 9-inch. It's a Ford differential because there's no back cover, and it's sitting right there where your junk is, and your legs are over the axle housing.
Yeah.
Because it's a brake handle and a gear shifter, and that's it. I mean, there's nothing for your legs to do except get in the way of stuff. And that's how Garlitz and all these people lose half a foot and everything, was doing all that stuff. So, you know, they built it in a single-car garage, Porter, 100 miles away. So you got to go out and test it and see what's working. So you go out in front of the house and crank it up.
And smoke the tires in front of the house.
Well, you got to figure out how to drive it and how to launch it. So they, it was
pretty
a
cool.
really interesting little deal. You're killing over
Well,
there.
that's actually a pretty
It's a
amazing
cockroach
car
that-
when you look back today, because that car would not come close to passing safety specs today's.
No.
World. But you know, even going to Porter back then, did you really have to tech the car in, or was it more
Yes,
grudge racing?
yes, there was tech.
There was
Yeah,
tech.
they-
Well,
they
what
would-
it was at the time, at least it was something.
You know, they had a starter there and stuff. One of the stories, the Chevelle, when we first were going over the Chevelle, Hearst had an inline shifter. You know, it was
Right.
ratchet, forward, backwards, and forth. So, then it really, that's where they're out there testing it in front of the house.
right there in front of the
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure
repaving the street.
I'm sure the neighbors love that.
Well, they thought it was better than us being out there drinking and stuff, so they really didn't. We never called
So
the
you're
cops.
going to tell us that you weren't drinking and working on the car?
No, sir, we were not. All the money went into the cars. See, there's James's El Camino, the one with the metal flag.
Oh,
and
cool.
This is back at East Tex, where he was up there. He could come up there and get his practice runs in and stuff to get ready to go get his license.
Them were the good old days, Mike.
You could actually do some of that stuff. And wish this thing, can you move it a little quicker, Jeff? Will it move faster? So this is the old school fire suit.
Oh, yeah.
That's his little brother putting him in the old school fire suit.
Looked like a baked potato in there with inside all the aluminum foil.
But that was what was going on, for those kind of cars. And
again, talking about the safety regulations have changed so much over time.
Oh, yeah. I mean, between the bell housing and everything else. And, of course, that's his little brother out there watching him. I mean, you're not going to go to a track these days and get that close with no wall or anything else in between you so that you can sit there and watch, doing the burnouts or anything
back
else.
there. Did you see them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some metal ones out there and stuff, but you can see how the trees are and stuff. It was a gorgeous place.
It really was. I love going out there because even in the hot summertime, you're underneath the pine trees.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. And it was really an interesting place to be.
So when did that track close?
I don't.
Early 80s.
If anybody knows, go on our Facebook page and give us an update on when that track closed, because we'd really like to know.
Yeah, because we were actually more into, we'd already moved into buying houses and getting married and all that kind of stuff by that time.
Yeah, it's all going downhill by then. I'm sorry. Is Becky listening to the show? I'm sorry. I didn't mean that, Becky. Never mind. So we've got Ram Tracks coming up after a quick break, along with Conrad's Car Clinic. So we invite you to stay tuned here on the In Wheel Time Car Show.
911, what's your emergency?
God, there's a train that just hit a car.
Sir, what is your location? Look around for a street sign, sir.
It's 8th and Orchard. 8th and Orchard.
Okay, very good. 8th and Orchard. Sir, help is on the way.
Why would he do that? The train still hasn't stopped. You have to get there now.
At a railway crossing, even if the engineer sees you and hits the brakes, it can take a mile for the train to stop. And for you, that's too late. Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
In Wheel Time Car Show. Actually, we were playing this exact music up at Porter at the East Tex Dragway. I remember that distinctly, turning up the AM radio as loud as it would go. You're on the In Wheel Time Car Show. Thanks for riding with us today. Time now for our Ram Tracks feature, In Wheel Time's weekly look into the Ram Nation. Mr. Mars?
So one of the things to do with the heavy-duty Rams and the type of loads that they will haul, weight-wise, I mean, a half-ton truck doesn't haul a half-ton. It almost hauls 2 tons now.
Yep.
So, but if you got stuff in the bed, sometimes you got to tie it down. You got to cover it up. Well, you can go down to Harbor Freight or wherever, and you can buy a little bungee cord thing that
Where they got those jack stands that collapse.
Oh, yeah, right. They're right down the aisle.
They crack right down the middle.
Or you can go out, and I found a thing called Gladiator Cargo Net. Now, this is a cargo net. And
how much is that?
Oh, shoot. Where did I put that?
Oh, don't ask the important questions.
Yeah, don't ask me the important stuff.
Because that thing
it was like $150. So this stuff is heavy duty. I mean, it's got straps. It doesn't have little bungee cords that you reach over there. And
it's like a whole mess of bungee cords put together.
No, it is strap
Nylon
material.
Kind of like tie-down straps.
And it's got tie-down straps that you can actually hook to it to tie it down. So this will be like if you're moving furniture or anything else.
Or if you want somebody
over the back.
Or somebody wants to catch you as you're diving out of the second story of a burning house.
Right. And you buy it size. Since it's not a bungee cord thing that you do, you can buy it by different sizes depending on the size of your bed. They actually have 6 different sizes.
Do they have the king size? Do they have the queen?
Yes.
Or
Double X large.
Double X.
Now, this is 10 foot by 18 foot. So, I mean, if you've got a pile of stuff there that you need to tie down, this thing will do it. And
you're doing some 4th of July moving, this is the thing for you.
That's right.
Out in Needville, right? I'm going to move, so I'm going to get an extra large bungee cord.
So, anyway, if you're hauling a big load, you need something. You need to go out and find the cargo net. That's the sizing chart right there. And that's kind of what it looks like.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
And it hooks into the inside, all these cargo management systems. It'll tie into it. But you can see how big the straps are on that and how it'll tie down, and it'll hold
you could put bodies in there and tie them down.
Ooh, that's a thought.
No comment.
Yeah, just saying.
So anyway,
All right.
that is Gladiator Cargo Net. You can find it several different places out there, but that's the name of the company, GladiatorCargoNet.com.
All right, let's move on. We got Conrad's Car Clinic. What are you talking about today?
Do you recall the recall? I read this on Haggerty the other day.
Recall the recall.
Yeah, because there were some pretty ridiculous recalls
Well,
out
the
there through
airbag
years.
thing is one that comes to mind.
Not just that, but back in 2001, GM had to call back a bunch of Chevrolet Sonics because they in the installation
because they were
of the
just
vehicle,
bad cars?
the brake pads fell out. So they were delivering cars, and during the installation, the brake pads would fall out, and they'd still put them on and ship them. So Chevrolet had to recall them. In 2015, Lincoln recalled the MKC because the button that they used to shift the transmission, or the on-off button, was on the center console as opposed to up on the dash. So people would inadvertently turn their vehicle off while they were driving down the highway, thinking they were pushing a different button.
Oh, yeah.
And you've talked about that before,
Oh,
how
yeah.
the placement of that start button is pretty important.
Yeah.
Honda Odyssey back in 2014 had placed the Honda Odyssey name tag on the left side of the back of the vehicle, where through all the other years it was on the right side. So Honda recalled it because they thought that somebody looking at the vehicle may have thought it was repaired from a rear-end accident, and whoever it was put it on the wrong side of the vehicle. So they recalled it and moved the badge to the other side.
Oh, my God.
Toyota Camry in 2013 had a problem with a AC drain that would block up, that would cause air conditioning condensation water to leak into the airbag system, and it could either turn a light on or deploy the airbag. So what did they find that caused that leak? Spiders nesting and building webs inside that drain tube.
I just killed one, ran across here just a minute ago.
So that spider can cause a recall. So they ended up having to redesign that drain tube.
It was a
and
spider
stuff.
recall.
And then Mazda 6 had more spider problems before the Toyota. Mazda had an issue with a specific breed of spider called the yellow sack spiders that were building their nests in the evaporative canister line vent that would cause the check engine light to come on, that the evap system wasn't
What kind of
working.
spider was that?
The yellow sack spider.
Yellow sack spider.
I'm not going to go there, but thank you very much. Toyota Corolla actually had a recall that was caused by
the arachnophobia recall.
In the 90s, Toyota recalled the Toyota Corolla because if you spilled your drink, the airbag module was mounted underneath the drink holder in the center console, so you could damage the airbag module. Not that airbags were going off, but you would affect the performance of the airbag module, and it might not go off. So recalls are safety, but recalls sometimes are a bit of silliness as well.
Well, silliness, yeah. And you would think that through all of the engineering process that somebody would have said, you know,
that's just a bad idea.
Putting it right there might not be the best idea.
That was by somebody that doesn't have any kids.
Well,
apparently.
Well,
or dogs.
Think about Don's Corvette, because this is one I was involved in back at the beginning. When you talk to people about C5 Corvettes, they mounted the battery in front of the passenger side in the front wheel well area, and General Motors is notorious for doing side mount batteries that would leak acid. So as the battery would leak acid, it would leak acid on these two huge harnesses that would pass underneath the battery, as well as the PCM was underneath the battery. So if that acid leak went on for a long period of time, in some instances, you'd probably just total the car because it would destroy both of those harnesses. But they never recalled it for that.
Way to go. All right, coming up next, we've got auto history. If you're a member of a car club, we want to put your group in the car club spotlight. All you got to do is shoot us an email, contact information to info@inwheeltime.com. After this, we'll be right back.
Uh-oh, Brad's buzzed.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he's starting with the woots. And now a speech.
I just want to say that friendship is about heart and brain. Who's with me?
Good thing is, he knows when he's buzzed.
And my brain is saying, when it's time to go home, somebody call me a ride.
Love that guy.
Me too.
Know your buzzed warning signs? Call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #AloneTogether. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
My God. You know, we try to format this show in a certain way, and it never fails.
Sometimes it's a 3-mat.
Pretty much. Yeah, yes, exactly. It's kind of bizarre. Okay, this week in auto history, let's do that now.
So in 1914 this week, Archduke Franz Ferdinand was assassinated in Sarajevo, Bosnia, which kind of started World War I. The odd thing was he was being chauffeured by Otto Mertz, who was a Mercedes-Benz team driver.
Any relationship to Fred?
Yes, Fred Mertz's
great-grandson.
Grandson. But he was a Mercedes-Benz team driver, so kind of an odd connection there. In 1926, GM traded 667,000 shares of its own stock at a market value of $136 million to acquire the remaining 40% of Fisher Body to bring Fisher Body into General Motors itself. In 1931, Robert Glenn Johnson Jr., famously known as Junior Johnson, was born in Wilkes County, North Carolina.
Do some moonshine running.
And that's what he was very well known for before he went into NASCAR. He was a bootlegger. In June 30th of 1953 was the first production Corvette was built in the Flint, Michigan factory. And that was the 53, the white Corvette with the red interior.
Wow.
Beautiful car.
No.
In 1956, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed into law the Highway Revenue Act, which was the beginning of the interstate highway system. In 1969, the last Rambler was produced and rolled off the production line in Kenosha, Wisconsin. You're
Yes,
Wisconsin.
I know where Kenosha is, sure.
Rambler had built a total of
Parker Pens were right down the street, too.
Okay. 4.2 million vehicles over the life of Rambler.
Yeah.
Which was more than I thought it was. I didn't realize. Also, this week was the last Thunderbird was produced by Ford Motor Company in Wixom, Michigan in 2005. In 1992, the original Corvette engineer, Zora Arcus Duntov, drove the 1 millionth Corvette off the assembly line in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And it was the same color combination car, white exterior, red interior, as the first 1953 Corvette was.
Well, you know, I got my picture taken with him before he died.
Oh,
and
cool.
He signed it and all that good stuff.
And then
I have it right back there.
On July 3rd of 1985, the blockbuster action movie was Back to the Future was released today, or on the 3rd.
Oh, what a great movie that was.
And again, all with a car theme.
Yeah.
You know, and think of if that movie didn't come out, DeLorean would be a piece of the past really a lot of people wouldn't think much of.
Agreed. All right. Thank you, sir. All right. We are out of time for this hour, but we're going to be back with hour number 2 after a quick break. This is In Wheel Time, and we are all things automotive. Thanks for joining us.
Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@nwheeltime.com.
If baby could talk, she'd say a lot. You'd know what she's thinking and what makes her happy. But unfortunately, baby can't talk or remind you you're the one taking her to daycare today. And she won't speak up if you drive straight to work like any other day and never think to look in the backseat. Every year, dozens of kids die from heat stroke in cars. No one is perfect, so set a reminder. And always look before you lock. Where's baby? Paid for by NHTSA.
From Studio A in Texas, USA, it's hour number 2 of the All Things Automotive Car Talk Show In Wheel Time. Just ahead, Mike Satterfield joins us to talk about the Groesbeck Grand Prix coming up. In our new car showroom is the Mercedes-Benz AMG GLC 43. Mike will take you for a ride in that. And later, Inside the Mystery Garage and our Jeep Trails feature, plus the stories making automotive news headlines this week. Just ahead in the 4th of July edition of the In Wheel Time Car Show. Welcome. Thank you for joining us, along with Mike out of this world, Mars, down there. King Conrad DeLong right here. I'm Don Armstrong. So glad that you could join us. I asked Mike, I said, so where, Groesbeck, that name sounds familiar. And I thought, oh, you reminded me that it is northwest of here.
Yeah, if you go I-45 north and you get to Buffalo.
I know where Buffalo is.
Make a left, like you're headed towards Waco. And about a little bit less than halfway between Buffalo and Waco is Groesbeck, right there out on Highway 164.
Mike Satterfield, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. So I need to know about the Groesbeck Grand Prix. Tell me all about it.
So the Groesbeck Grand Prix, the Groesbeck Grand Prix really started out as an idea for enthusiasts to get together and host a automotive festival that would appeal to people outside of just the regular car show or vintage racing crowds, so you can get more people kind of involved in the hobby.
Right.
We've got a time trial, we've got a car show, we've got food vendors. It's going to be a really fun event.
When is it, Mike?
September 5th and 6th, so the first weekend of September.
Labor Day weekend.
Oh.
Correct, yeah.
So this is kind of the Goodwood of Texas.
That's kind of the goal of it, is to grow it into like a Goodwood Grand Prix here in Texas. It's a really fun space. It's set on old Fort Parker's restoration, so it's a really cool backdrop for this type of event with this pioneer fort and big arrows in the ground and old pioneer cabins spread around the ground. So it's a really neat property, and we've been really excited to work with Groesbeck and Mejia to put this event together.
So tell me about the cars. I mean, is it a car show, a car race, or is it all things automotive, like our show?
So it's pretty much all things automotive. We've got a 1.5-mile time trial where we're actually shutting down a public park road. We got permission to shut down this road and line it with some hay bales, and we're going to run cars down it. So it's a little different than most of your standard car shows, because people are actually going to get to see some really amazing cars at speed and in motion being used the way they were designed to be used. And then inside the fort, we're going to have some select vehicles on display. And then we've got car clubs from all over Texas coming. So it's going to be a really fun event.
So give me an example of some of the cars or car classes that are going to be there.
Well, we've got cars coming from as far away as North Carolina to participate, including Mike Powell's bringing his 1963 Ford Fairlane Nascar. It's a historic NASCAR that he's fully restored.
Oh, how
he's
cool.
bringing it out, and that's running down the time trial track. We've got vintage Austin Healey's and Triumphs. We have a Chevron B25, which is a really exciting car. It's the car that won the 1973 Fuji Sports Car Championship over in Japan. So that car's coming, going to run the time trial. And then on the car show side, we have all kinds of vehicles coming, from former Pebble Beach winners to, kind of your everyday classics. So it's going to be a really neat kind of span of vehicles. And really, we wanted to make an event that is approachable and accessible for everybody. So it's an inexpensive event. I mean, a weekend pass is $20 to get in, and that covers you for both days. It's going to be a really fun event.
So, Mike, are you going to have an area for like cruise-in people like me if I wanted to cruise in up there?
We actually, we do have a bunch of car clubs actually in Austin, Dallas, and Houston, all planning cruises up to the event. So we have a special car club area for parking for classic cars. So it's going to kind of be a just impromptu car show of whoever decides to rally in, and the cars that are coming and things like that. So, and there's also Facebook groups that some of the clubs have already started that are for their individual rallies from Austin or Dallas and things like that.
Man, this sounds like a ton of fun.
I'm telling you.
And I want to go. I want to go. And maybe
we'd love to have you guys. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Maybe it'll be my opportunity to be the man on the street reporter from the Groesbeck Grand Prix. What do you think?
We need to do a live remote from there. That'd be a hoot.
Well, yeah, we could just pack all of this up. Oh, Lord, help me. We'd pack all this up and come up there and see you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We'd love to have you guys.
So, Mike, is there a close place by that you can rent motel rooms, hotel rooms? What city is nearby other than Groesbeck?
So it's actually right in between Groesbeck and Mejia, and it's about 35 miles from Waco, so it's not too far outside of Waco.
Oh.
The nice thing is that Groesbeck actually and Mejia actually have several hotels, And we've actually got a listing on our website of all the regional hotels during the area. And then if people do want to stay actually on site, we have RV hookups and camping spaces available. So if people want to make a weekend of it and come out and camp, that's available too. Because
Don has done some glamping in the past.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, Mars is working on some glamping features right now, and he's trying to get Conrad and I to join him in the glamper. And I'm thinking that now that you've got the hookups, I'm thinking it's going to happen.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, it's
Try
like,
not to use
60 spaces.
Try not to use the term hookup.
So you are north then, listening to your directions. You're north of Groesbeck. So you're up there off of 14?
Off of 14, yeah. So the actual old Fort Parker is actually, a lot of people get confused with Fort Parker State Park. Old Fort Parker is a restoration that was built back in the 1930s. That is a recreation of the original Parker Fort. So it's a correct reinterpretation of the original Pioneer Fort. And they've got a giant arrow stuck in the ground. That's kind of a cool thing. It's actually the start of the Quaney Parker Trail, but it's also where our finish line is. So that's why our little tagline is the race to the arrow. So they start a mile and a half down the road, and then they finish right by the fort at a giant arrow stuck in the ground.
This sounds like an absolute scream. This is a car guy's car event here. So you can walk around. You could take the family car. You could take the family. You could watch the racing. You could watch the car show. You could cruise in. It's everything for it. Okay, what about food and restrooms?
Well, that's the great thing about Fort Parker is it actually has all the stuff already built into it as far as the restroom facilities. We're actually going to bring in some more restrooms, obviously some porta potties and stuff like that. But it's a great facility, and it's got everything we need. We're going to bring in food trucks as far as food. I really want to create an event that you could bring your family to that's not maybe a super car person. I go to a lot of these historic racing events, and they're a lot of fun, and they're great at putting on great historic races, but they're not really good at the hospitality side of it. So we wanted something that you could bring your wife and your kids to. You can enjoy it. Whoever the non-car enthusiast in your family is will still find something to do and enjoy it, whether it's exploring the fort and learning about the history of the fort, whether it's just learning about the history of the cars, watching the cars, enjoying some food, or just enjoying a day out in a beautiful park.
Well, we're certainly hoping that this current pandemic crisis that we're all in, that we can't go anywhere or do anything, that by then it will be eased up. And I think that people are getting more accustomed to a new way of living, at least temporarily, masking up, social distancing, et cetera, and not closing down everything, because we all are going to wind up killing each other if we all have to be, stuck in a house all together for months on end, afraid of the germ. So
or stuck in a glamping camper with you and Mars. I'll pass.
Oh no, we're dragging you into that glamper, my friend. Yeah, exactly.
Oh Lord, it sounds like it's going to be a killer event, though. That's going to be a lot of fun.
So September 5th through the 6th, Labor Day weekend at the Groesbeck Grand Prix. We'll put a link to your site on ours, and we'll be talking to you. I want to talk to you again before the event comes up. So let's make it a plan sometime in August that we connect again, see how things are going.
Yeah.
And
sounds great.
Yeah, as we get a little bit. Listen, man, it's been great talking to you, and we're really excited about it. And they may not be serious, but yours truly is serious. I'm thinking, okay, we've got the in-wheel time truck. Mars owns that. It's wrapped in the in-wheel time logo. You can't miss it. And I'm thinking about a cute little 3-person glamper pulled behind it. We can put all of the equipment in the truck, and then
a cute one.
A cute one, yes, a cute one, and a really cute one. And I'm thinking maybe along the lines of pink and green. How about you?
One of those nostalgic campers that you can pull along behind it.
Yeah,
yeah.
or one of those that is just nothing but a place to sleep. One of those low slung things that looks kind of like a little teardrop.
A little teardrop trailer.
Yeah,
right,
teardrop.
Right. Yeah.
I think the three of us, it'd be like the Three Stooges in that famous snoring thing in bed.
If you guys do decide not to go glamping or you give up on it early, there are some on-site accommodations. So just let me know ahead of time. We'll get you one booked.
Boom. There you go. I think that may be the really true answer.
So the 5th and 6th, that's the Saturday and Sunday of Labor Day weekend?
Saturday and Sunday. The big day is Sunday. Saturday is the test and tune and track practice and all that stuff. The big day is Sunday, but you can actually come out Friday through Monday and camp and enjoy the whole weekend if you like.
So people that have to work on Monday would have time to get home and get to work, is what I'm thinking.
And who would that be? Me? Hey, vacation starts all over again.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Satterfield, it's great to talk to you. Thanks so much for taking the time out of your day on this July 4th. Enjoy the 4th of July, and we'll talk to you again in August.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. That's Mike Satterfield with the Groesbeck Grand Prix. Hey, the In Wheel Time Car Show live streams on Facebook.com/InWheelTime, on YouTube, and our website, InWheelTime.com. Podcasts, they're available on Apple Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeart Podcast, Google Podcast, Podcast Addict, and on and on and on. And you're going to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say we're starting to post, in addition to taking the show next week, we'll be posting the 30-minute blocks up on YouTube.
Yes.
We're also starting to put it on Instagram TV.
Instagram TV?
If you like Instagram, you can just pop over to Instagram TV and check us out.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, we know that most people can't sit and watch a 2-hour show, so we break it down throughout the week. Segment 1 goes up one day, segment 2 goes up another day, so you can kind of plan your day.
Or read a special segment you want to see again.
Shorter segments.
On your way to work or whatever the case may be. Okay, we've got more of the In Wheel Time Car Show right after this.
Man, I love my kids so much. I once sat for 3 hours in the cold rain to watch her soccer team lose by 18 goals.
I love my kids so much, I once used a tube to suck snot out of her stuffed nose at 3 a.m.
You win.
Love your kids? Love them enough to make sure they're in the right car seat. From toddlers to tweens, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat to find the right seat for their age and size. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
A social distancing tip.
While the CDC urges you to avoid close contact, like hugging or shaking hands, there are other non-physical ways to say hello. Wave, wink, use sign language, salute, smile, give the peace sign, throw up an air high five, do jazz hands. Remember, stay a minimum of 6 feet or 2 arms length away from others and stay home if you can. For more info, visit coronavirus.gov.
Let's all do our part because we're all #alone-together. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Houston's most in-depth car show, In Wheel Time, streaming live online on Facebook, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. Time now for this hour's car review. Mr. Mars had a chance to drive the Mercedes-Benz AMG GLC 43. He wrote down on his notes it was a CLC, and I wasn't going to question him, but I'm glad that I did because it's not. It needs that little on the C to make it a G.
To finalize it out. And so what we're talking about, the 43, it's a G series, the G-Wagon or whatever you want to call it. There's actually 3 of them. There's the 43, the 63, and the 63S. And obviously 43 is a small one, and they get bigger engines and everything. But they've all taken on this a very similar look, particularly up front, because you're going to see that they've got the more rounded edges on them. And this one is the GLC 43 Coupe. Now, they call it a coupe, but if you really look at it, to me, it looks more like a hatchback. It's got that profile with that sloping back. A lot of them are going to that.
Did you try to sit in the back seat?
No, I didn't even bother.
Because those I ran across. It was a Honda, I believe it was, that had that sloping back thing in it, and you had to actually
duck in. You have to
duck to get in,
climb into it. I was.
But this is an SUV that they call a coupe.
Yes, it is. But it's.
Is it a 4-door coupe?
Yes.
That's not a coupe. That's a 4-door.
But I understand. But I'm just telling you,
I know that's what they call it.
It just got that profile on it. So again, it's taken on across all 3 of the models. The LED headlights, daytime running lights. It's all got LED lighting packages up front with the vertical grille. Now you've also got a lower air intake that kind of goes along with that. And it had the power lift gate. We were rolling on the optional 21-inch black 10-spoke wheels, which are really nice looking. On the interior on it, we had the cranberry and black leather interior.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Sounds good.
I'm not a big fan of red leather,
But this is cranberry.
This is cranberry, and this really had a nice look, particularly when you add in the carbon fiber trim panels that go along with it. Of course, the front seats were heated. Had a nice color heads-up display system on it. It also had the 12.3-inch digital screen there that we used to call a gauge pod, but that's where you're going to see all your instrumentation and
We
stuff.
can still call it a gauge pod.
Well, people look at you weird when you do. And then over there, they also had the 10.25-inch
No, they
touch
don't. They tell you that you're old. That's what they do.
Well, particularly the girls. Anyway, so the 10.25-inch touchscreen display right in the middle of the stack there. And that's where you're going to find all your convenience controls and your rear view camera and the controls for the Burmeister sound audio system. And that's also
Burmeister.
That's what it said, you know,
Didn't
Android.
they used to make
Apple.
shoes? I was going to say it comes with a couple of steins of beer.
To go along with it. Oh, never mind. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yes.
So up under the hood, we had the 3.0-liter V6 bi-turbo. So it's a twin-turbo setup, 385 horsepower, 385 pound-feet of torque, and it's backed by a 9-speed automatic. But with that turbo and the 385 horses, you know, the transmission doesn't have to search. Yeah. It doesn't have to search like some of the cars. Because
it's got enough torque just to push itself along.
It finds the gear, and it likes it, and it sits there, and it stays in there. Now, the EPA says you should be looking for about 18 miles to the gallon in the city, out on the Highway 24, combined 21.
And my God,
I actually got about 19 and a half.
Oh, my God.
Stayed on.
Well, you know, you
stayed in the boost a little
bit.
bit.
Well, you got to make sure there's no turbo lag there. You got to do the transmission
blow it out.
and So it's got the dynamic select on the driving modes. You got slippery, sport, sports plus, comfort, and custom. And you had to try all of those. Slippery,
slappy.
comma,
I think that's
sport,
mud, sand, and
comma,
snow.
sport plus, comma, comfort, comma, custom.
You're
So the
never
custom,
going to
you
get
gotta-
another Mercedes-Benz as long as you live.
Slippery
after
sport.
We have ruined your car review.
So, and when you go into the sport and the sport plus, that's when you start affecting all the steering, the shift points, the throttle response, the suspension. That's how you get all the sports factors. It makes a lot of adjustments, and you can really feel it as it does this.
And you left it in Sport Plus most of the time?
Well, we had to try the custom out a little bit, too, to see what you could really do with it. So, you know, and when you're driving this vehicle, because of the power to weight ratio and stuff, it's got a really lightweight feel to it, and it feels very nimble. The quick steering, particularly when you've got the adaptive suspension working in there for you, I mean, it's like driving a go-kart. And so it's, you know, Comfort Sport Plus is really some great places to be at. Now, here's where I think it could use some improvement. Blind spots. Because of that sloping roof line, the D-pillar is big. I mean, it's, to me, I look in the rearview mirror, and it's like I can see a porthole in a submarine. That's about all I can see out the back.
Yeah, but it's got blind spot warning on it.
It does. It absolutely does. You know, and I made use of it because that was just, you know, to me, there was no point in turning over your shoulder between the headrest and the D-pillar. You can't see nothing.
Right.
So,
well, and my wife has a GLC and absolutely loves it, but it's not the AMG one. I couldn't afford that one. And we're going to get there here in just a moment, aren't we?
Yeah. If you're looking for something to compare it to, you might look at the BMW X4 M40i, which starts at about $61,000. Or, as Don mentioned, the Porsche Macan Turbo. Or you didn't mention the turbo, but the turbo, to get up around the horsepower, starts at about $83,000. And a base AMG GLC 43 Coupe starts at $63,000. Now, we had a couple of options on ours. Some of the packages, they do a lot of packaging on this. If you buy the suspension package,
the slippery
or
sport package,
the driver assistant package, you know, you package it. Most everybody's doing it that way, so that makes the MSRP as tested $79,850. And, of course, if you step up to the larger size, the 63 or the 63S with the V8 engines that I would love to try those things
Probably
out.
never will get another Mercedes.
No, never, ever again. Not after this review.
So
I'm still back on the Burmeister black and white saddle shoes, but that's just me. All right.
That's my review.
This week's, is that your review? Thank you. And I'm sorry that we pretty much ruined it. You're going to have to redo it, I'm sure.
A great car. A great vehicle to drive.
Oh, yeah. It was a lot of fun to drive. Absolutely.
How many tanks of gas did you go through?
Only 1.5.
1.5 tanks. Okay. Just
in less than 400 miles.
I was going to say.
He
burned the fuel out of it.
Well, you know,
when you stay up in the boost, it
you
pours
got a
little
lot of
fuel in it.
research to do on that vehicle.
There was a lot of research to do. This week's car calendar and race card and other good stuff coming right up.
911, what's your emergency?
God, there's a train that just hit a car.
Sir, what is your location? Look around for a street sign, sir.
It's 8th and Orchard. 8th and Orchard.
Okay, very good. 8th and Orchard. Sir, help is on the way.
Why would he do that? The train still doesn't stop. You have to get there now.
At a railway crossing, even if the engineer sees you and hits the brakes, it can take a mile for the train to stop. And for you, that's too late. Stop. Trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
I think it's our turn again. It's In Wheel Time, America's most popular car talk show, probably not by Mercedes-Benz standards, but we are all things automotive. Time now for the car calendar, the race card, and the event calendar. We're going to roll it all into one.
Well, tonight, Randy's going to have Nifty 50s up at the Randall's.
He is?
Yes, Nifty 50s is
For
going
sure.
Yes, absolutely. Well, he's going on it every other weekend, so I went on his website and checked, and I put a link on our Facebook page as well.
There's got to be a lot of social distancing there.
Well, there's actually a pattern of how they want you to park every other car, and then on the row behind you, every other car. So
be sure and bring your mask.
10 feet apart. You have to have a mask as well, and if you don't have one, they'll have one there for you. Tonight, and that starts, it's tonight between 5 and 9 up off Grogan's Mill Mall, up off Grogan's Mill in the Woodlands. 6 p.m. tonight's the Kima Car Meet and Show, and that's kind of a standard every weekend.
That hasn't been canceled?
Nope. I checked them as well, so people are still having car events. Coffee and Cars at WPC in Texas City is 8 a.m. tomorrow. And 2 p.m. tomorrow, COVID Classic Community Car Cruise out of Pasadena. Everybody's coming up with creative names for all of this.
Wait a minute. Could you run that by one more time a little slower?
The COVID Classic Community Car Cruise in Pasadena.
All right.
So there's going to be a meetup spot, and they're just going to go on a drive. And the drive is going to be south to Galveston.
All right.
And then Sunday night's going to be Freddy's at 1960 in Eldridge. Wednesday is Freddy's on Fry Road in Katy. And then Fridays at Freddy's at Spring at Kirkendall and 2920. On July 25th is the Galveston Cherry Hill Cruise. They're going to meet up in Katy at the Buc-ee's at 4 p.m., roll out at 5, connect with the Southern Group at 6 p.m. At the Buc-ee's in Texas City, and then they're going to roll on down into Galveston, take pictures on Cherry Hill, and head out. But again, this is all about giving some space and distance amongst people. Troy's going to have another Twin Peaks meet in the Woodlands, and that's Sunday, July 26th. The Klein High School Band Car Show is October 10th. And then on October 25th, the Northside Mustang Car Club is going to have an open car show at the Conroe Outlets. So we've done shows at the Conroe Outlets in the past. So this weekend, racing calendar. Formula One's back, and they are running Formula One. So that's going to be their first.
Is there anybody in attendance?
No, there's no stands. There's people there, but there's no audience in the stands and stuff. So that's going to be, and that's at the Red Bull Ring in Austria. Grand Prix of Indianapolis is this weekend as well. So that's the road course at Indianapolis. Indianapolis 500s. I don't know that that's going to happen at all as the 500. IMSA's at Daytona this weekend. NHRA, where are we at here?
It's all jacked up.
Yeah, it's
seriously
just
what an absolute
Next weekend,
mass.
NHRA is going to have their opening event since COVID, and that's going to be at the Lucas Oil Raceway in Indy.
God. All right. I have something that I wanted to mention. The catalytic converter that we've all bemoaned for decades, but let me just read the story. John Mooney, Mr. Mooney, the force behind catalytic converters, died this week at the age of 90. Mooney was June 16th, actually, at his home in Wyckoff, New Jersey, credited with the big breakthrough while working at supplier Engelhard in advancing one of the most important anti-pollution devices since the creation of the car. I didn't know this. Saw the story, started reading, I thought, I really should share this because this guy was truly huge. SAE International considers it among the top inventions since the dawn of the automobile. The EPA says it has saved thousands of lives and prevented hundreds of thousands of throat and lung ailments. The modern catalytic converter, which scrubs smog and soot-producing hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, and nitrogen oxides from automobile exhausts, has revolutionized air pollution controls with its invention in the 1970s. Catalytic converter development began in the 50s, was spurred by federal regulations that mandated lead-free gasoline, which hampered and in some cases disintegrated anti-pollution devices. The three-way catalytic converter was a major advance over the oxidizing converter, which General Motors patented and began installing in vehicles in 1974. I didn't know that GM had its own version of a catalytic converter. Early catalytic converters developed by Mooney and Keith, another guy, cut carbon monoxide and hydrocarbon emissions, but the Clean Air Act of 1970 imposed new limits on another pollutant, nitrogen oxides. The device they created, a ceramic honeycomb coated with various oxides, platinum, rhodium, using a single catalyst bed, was introduced on assembly lines in 1976. Rather than look at the exhaust, he focused on the gasoline piped into the engine. If it was mixed with the right amount of air, the exhaust would offer a one-stage converter and just enough oxygen to simultaneously render the three pollutants harmless. Keith later sent Mooney around the world with an assignment: convince automakers to add an oxygen sensor to their engines. The sensor would monitor fuel-to-air ratios so each engine could be tuned to optimize where Mooney's one-stage converter would engage. Mooney said, "My greatest contribution to the world was convincing countries to remove lead from gasoline," he said in an interview published by Chemical Engineering. And remember, at the time, everybody thought, oh, what are we going to do?
Right.
It's going to rob us of horsepower, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Now we're turning out 900 horsepower engines from the factory, and you can buy them. At any rate, he said in an interview published by Chemical Engineering Progress in 2005, lead in auto exhaust caused children in urban areas to lose up to 10 IQ points and caused hypertension and serious heart problems for adults. Mooney was awarded 17 patents and elected a fellow of SAE, then known as the Society of Automotive Engineers, in 1990. Although I liked my chemistry courses well enough, I've always had a practical bent, he once said. I like to make things happen, and that's what engineers do. They take the basic science and make things happen with it.
Think if he'd have gotten $1 for every catalytic converter. Heck, think if he had gotten 10 cents for every catalytic converter.
Yeah.
He'd be probably, $100 million at least, yeah.
But at any rate, I just thought it was noteworthy that he died in June the 16th.
Very smart man.
Very smart man, yeah, exactly. But looked at that problem, that issue, in a different way than anybody ever had
Out of the box.
That's it. Hey, I want to remind you that if you're a member of a car, truck, or Jeep club, you can put your group in our In Wheel Time Car Club Spotlight. Just email us the club's information and contact name and number, and we will take it from there. The email address is info@inwheeltime.com. We're back after a quick break.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com.
Welcome back to In Wheel Time, the most popular live weekly award-winning car talk show, along with Mike Out of This World Mars down there in that fuchsia shirt, and Conrad DeLong there.
Fuchsia.
Well, it was
green. Lime green. Fuchsia's kind of a pink color. Kind of matches your shoes.
It does. My saddle shoes. And Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong. Glad she could join us today.
Oh, boy. Here we
go
again.
You did own a pair of saddle shoes at one time in your life, didn't you?
Birkenstocks.
Didn't we all?
Birkenstocks.
No, they were sandals. Hippie sandals.
Yeah, I remember. You probably still have that same pair, don't you?
No, I think I threw them out after Harvey flooded my house.
Yeah. All right. Well, I just thought.
But we have more important things to do.
No, we don't.
Okay.
We won't even talk about shoe choices. So we have joining us right now Houston racer Alec Udall. And Alec, it's great to see you. How you doing? What are you sitting in? Now, I want that. Is that an office chair?
No, not quite. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on today, guys.
Yeah.
I figured I'd take the call from my racing sim that I use for practice in between.
Check this out.
Yeah.
He's in the
it's pretty
simulator.
cool. Yeah, I'm in this. We're all in a simulation, right?
Well,
it's the Matrix, right?
And this show doesn't even exist. This is all just a figment of your imagination.
All right. Well, glad I'm on it.
We are too. So,
right.
tell us about the sim.
I'll flip the camera around here. So I started putting this together about end of February of this year. So it ended up being really nice timing. But so I've got a steering wheel set up here. I've got it a little spaced out, but a nice steering wheel, and then tilt and pedal set up, and then triple monitors, which I'm running some racing and just catching up on some of the Formula One qualifying from this morning and watching the IndyCar race. But normally it's running, the 3 screens with like you're inside the car. And then if I stand back a little bit, here's the seat, a little bolster for my back there.
Nice.
But it's a nice little setup here.
Yeah, no doubt. So can you choose whatever track you want to put your car on?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
And so tell me, what are you racing currently, professionally?
I just got back from, actually, we had a couple days at Sebring, which I was doing coaching with the GT3 Cup cars with Porsches. And then we were at Sebring first, and then went to Road Atlanta. And so next week we'll go to Mid-Ohio doing some more testing, and then I will be racing again in the GT4 series this year and doing a little bit in IMSA.
And what kind of car is the GT4 series?
It will. There are all kinds of cars. Last year I raced a BMW. This year most likely I'll be in a Mercedes.
Oh, nice.
The AMG. Yeah.
The AMG GT.
Yeah.
Oh, upscale, boy! I'll tell you, I wish I could afford to ride in one of those.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a great car. We did a little bit of testing at VIR a few weeks ago. So
what a beautiful track VIR is, though.
So I want to get into you. How did you get into racing? Did you start with something like go-karts, or how did all that happen?
Yeah, definitely. So I started racing go-karts. There used to be down at the Houston dog track, the dog park. There used to be a cone parking lot kart track that was set up, and so that's where I started. That was like the first time I drove something. I was about 5 years old.
5, okay.
Yeah, I was about 5 years old and driving a Comer engine. It's like a pull start lawnmower engine, basically, that went about 35 mile an hour or so. So wasn't too fast, but for a 5-year-old, it was definitely.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It was lots of fun.
And so from there, what age were you, and what did you move up into?
Yeah, I raced a bunch of karts for about 10 years before I got into cars. I won a couple of national championships in go-karts. And then the first car that I jumped into at 14 was a Spec Miata.
Well, and that's a great training ground for anybody, and it's easy and it's affordable. And most people, I don't think, realize that Spec Miata series is
so big. Yeah.
It's huge. It's affordable, and it is extremely competitive because you really can't do much with the engine at all.
Totally, and like you said, it's affordable, and the barrier to entry is really low. So you end up with a lot of people to compete with, and you can go anywhere in the country, and there's really good drivers driving in a Spec Miata.
But
it
also gives you great skill sets because you understand the momentum, you understand how not to lose your direction because you're over braking or doing something silly that slows you down, that as you increase in power and performance, all of that translates to a BMW GT or an AMG GT, excuse me.
Yeah, exactly. And so with that, I like to tell everyone when I'm coaching, every car is a momentum car. And that's where you learn it. That's where I learned it exactly, is from that spec Miata that would maybe do 120 mile an hour downhill with a tailwind and 3 other cars pushing it.
If you had a half-mile head start.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So how did you make the transition to professional driver from the Mazda Spec Miatas thing?
Yeah, it just kind of happened. I knew a race team, or I knew an co-owner of a race team from karting. And I was at a national karting event in Las Vegas, the SCUSA Super Nationals. And it's an international event. I mean, people come from all over the world. And so it's really, really competitive. And I met up with a guy who was from Texas as well. And they had a Camaro race team. It had a Riley built that was in 2011. And that car was a lot of fun. And we wanted to go IMSA racing. I wasn't quite old enough, so we went into Pirelli World Challenge at the time. And the jump just was kind of made. They went out, came down to MSR Houston. We tested. I was nice, clean in the car, was quick as well. And we went to St. Pete. And that from there, it just kind of started my whole career in professional motorsports.
Well, do you find that there are a lot of owners of cars that are really more into the car, and they got to go out and find a professional driver? Is that still the case today?
Yeah, I'd say you definitely see team owners like that still. I think that it's kind of transitioned a little bit in sports car racing to where you have now it's professional and amateurs at the same time. And so most of the racing that I've been doing is Pro-Am. And so you've got a guy that really enjoys the car and loves driving it. And then you've got a professional that kind of comes in and is able to coach the guy in the car and make sure that they're understanding how to handle, these awesome machines that we get to drive.
So, it's kind of the gold silver scenario that you see in some series is how they phrase it. Yeah.
So you had mentioned earlier that you had been doing some coaching here recently.
Yes.
How does that work?
Yeah, and it's the cars have very sophisticated data acquisition systems. And so I'm looking at when we go out to, say we were at Road Atlanta yesterday, I'll go out in the morning and set kind of like a datum lap. And it's like, okay, this is about, what you can get out of the car. And the person that I'm coaching will go out and work on his lap time. And then we'll come in and overlay our data basically, and be able to compare like, okay, what I mainly look at is minimum speeds, throttle percentage, gear, brake pressure, as well as steering wheel angle. And then we also have video systems where we can put our videos side by side. And in that we can get very detailed and look at positioning in the car, turn-in points, brake points, and kind of we'll go out and pick 2 to 3 things per session to work on and just keep whittling away at the track.
So do you personally sit over in the passenger seat while the person you're coaching? No? Where are you physically?
Physically, I'll be out at different turns in the track with a radio because there's a lot you can see from the outside of the car.
Yes.
And all the cars that I coach are strictly track cars. And so they don't have passenger seats. They've got a weight box in the passenger seat because they're built for like driving in a racing series.
Right.
So like with the GT3 Cup cars, the team that I coach with, Kelly Moss, races in IMSA with the GT3 Cup series. And so that's what we're going out. And all these guys are really, they're good drivers, and they need those extra second or two to get to, very competitive.
So how many laps do you typically go before you pull the data and sit down and go over the data? How many laps does the driver typically go?
Yeah, it depends definitely on the what we're setting out to do. So if it's a track that the driver hasn't been to before, we'll do shorter 5 to 10 lap sessions. But if we're working on kind of race pace and looking to see, okay, let's go out and be consistent across the run, then it'll be, we might do a race simulation, and the races in those series are 45 minutes long. So they could be 20 to 30 laps.
Are you typically out there with other cars on the racetrack with you at that same time?
Yeah, it depends. So our test yesterday was a private test, so we had 4 cars, but then in Sebring we had about 20. So it just depends on the event and the type of day that's set up. There are days. It's the one that we were at with Sebring, David Murray, who's a successful sports car racer. is started these track day events where it's David Murray days. And so he'll go rent the track out and then sell out a certain amount of spots. So the track isn't too crowded, but it kind of makes the cost a little more appealing.
So how do some of the, I'll say, more experienced drivers deal with such a young man coaching them? I'm trying to
Yeah, exactly. Well,
so did you graduate Clemson already?
Yes, I did in 2018.
Congratulations.
Yes,
what was your degree in?
Thank you. Mechanical engineering.
And you bring that relation to the racing as they're developing the car and your input to the car. Do a lot of the teams allow you to input that type of mechanical engineering into the vehicles that they're building for you?
Yeah, totally. So a lot of what I use my degree is really the problem solving process. So it's in a race car, you're always looking to be more efficient, faster, and getting the best lap time out of the car. And so for whatever, you're trying to optimize the situation. So what I do very well is I work with the engineers on the race team, and I'm able to describe what I want the car to do or what the car's not doing in a way that they are able to take it and say, okay, let's make this change. And sometimes I give the feedback where it's like, okay, well, I don't think a bar change would be right because it feels more like maybe the tire is rolling. So we're already over the limit of what the tire is. So maybe we could make a ride height adjustment to change the roll center of the car. So it's more so in the suspension and rather than like the anti-roll bars.
So you can talk that engineering talk instead of just a driver saying, I feel a little shaky out here. You can tell them, look,
Yes.
this is why I think I feel shaky, and they can take that and understand it better.
Exactly.
So when are you going to go to work for Roger Penske is what I want to know.
Where are you going to buy Roger Penske?
Yeah, that's it's all starting with a go-kart track up in Conroe that I help manage and operate. And so that's the place where if you're looking to get into racing, that's where you go. It's Houston Karting Complex up on Loop 336 in Conroe.
I've seen that up in the trees.
Yes, exactly. And
nice place.
So we thank you. The goal there is just to bring racing close to home and allow people to get into motorsports and not have to, go out and buy a car or a go-kart and see, dip their toe in it, see if they like it. And so we have league racing, we have carts that we sell for people that are competition carts. And then of course I do the private coaching and everything. So my goal is to keep building those and build more and more and more around the country. And so.
Well, Alec, it's a pleasure to talk to you. And I got to wrap this up now, but I have to ask you, how much money you got in that racing simulator that you're sitting in right now?
Don's jealous.
None of your business. You're allowed to say that, Alex.
Yeah, a few thousand for sure. It's
not for the weak-kneed, I can tell you that.
Have you done any of the iRacing that we're seeing everybody transition to when COVID hit? Have you been involved in any of them?
Yes, I have. I did a lot with the SRO series, which is the series that I won last year. The American series, I did a lot with their e-racing this year, and so that finished up about 3 weeks ago or so, and their first race is next weekend.
Cool.
So.
Alec,
we put a link. We put a link up to your complex.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate the time that you've taken with us today. It's always great to talk to you. Hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks.
Alec Udall at the Alec Udall Racing. Time now for In Wheel Time's weekly look at the world of Jeeping. It's called Jeep Trails, and Mr. Mars has that.
I have that, and you're going to love this. So as soon as I find it, here it is. So I found this out. I was out there looking at Jeep Wrangler. I was looking for some stuff for a Jeep Wrangler. We've been talking about storage. I found a company called Icebox, B-O-X-X. Now, what they have is it's a door-mounted bottle opener. If you're outside, out and about, and you're out in the wilds and everything, we've seen where they take the doors off and they put the foot pegs on there so that you can ride with foot pegs. So now you can take, when you take the doors off, you can put a bottle opener right there. Yeah, Jeep Trails. and it mounts there on the door, and you can open a bottle with it. Now, if you're out and about, like I say, out in the wild and stuff, it mounts right there on the door. It's out of the way. You open the door. It doesn't get in the way of it or anything.
Do you have to drill holes?
Nope. It mounts there on where there's some bolts right there. See how all the spotlight and everything's done? So you can put it right there to keep your ball so that you can open all the bottles. Now, I will tell you that in the description on Amazon, which is where I found this particular thing, so you can order it up, on the description it says, now you can pop a top on a cold one while working on your Jeep, in parentheses, voiding the warranty, close parentheses, and not miss a beat.
Oh, my God. All right.
See, I can use the seatbelt out of my rally. It's a perfect bottle opener.
Well, there you have it. So, okay. In competition with Mike's bottle opener there. Thank you very much. We've got more of the In Wheel Time online show, including the Mystery Garage after this quick break.
It's 4 a.m., Monday, and you're literally sucking baby snot through a tube because she's congested. Man, that's love. And if you love her that much, love her enough to make sure she's buckled in the right car seat. To make sure your child's in the right seat for their age and size, visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Show them you love them. Keep them safe. Visit nhtsa.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Is your business or company looking to stand out in a crowded advertising market? Looking to reach the real auto enthusiast? Well, you found it. You're listening or watching In Wheel Time, and so are your fellow enthusiasts. The In Wheel Time Car Show now reaches 500,000, and we can put together a marketing plan that will engage them in your product, business, or service. To get the tires rolling, just shoot us an email to our marketing director, Jeff Zekin. His address is jeff@inwheeltime.com.
I don't know why this is playing this, but why not? It's the In Wheel Time show. Thank you very much for joining us today. Time now to look inside the Mystery Garage, and you wonder what the Mystery Garage is, and that would be back here. That right back there, that's the Mystery Garage. So today, let me show you what we have in the Mystery Garage, if you don't mind. I thought that this would be an interesting garage to look at, because I wanted to point out.
That's a neat garage.
I'm telling you.
How simple this garage is. It's not complicated at all. So some of the things that you may consider doing, maybe at the next time you've got some time on your hands, maybe today, maybe tomorrow you could start on it. You got to clean out the garage, and the easy way to do it without actually going outside the garage, you take all of that lump that you currently have in the garage, and you do paint the ceiling first, and you paint the ceiling the whitest white that you can paint it.
So it reflects the light.
Correct. The next thing that you do is you take that big lump, move it to the center of the garage.
Paint the walls.
And
white.
paint the walls. You don't have to paint them white. You can paint them an off-white, paint them a light gray or a light blue, or whatever turns you on. I'd make it a different color just to give it some character.
But something light.
And then start working on shelving. Now, this shelving here is extremely simple, as you can tell. I mean, that is probably a total of about $30 between the actual shelving and the stuff that you put on the wall and attach the shelving to.
And he's got some weight on there.
He does. But it doesn't take a whole lot. You find the studs in the walls and you nail up the hangers, okay? Now, over on the left-hand side, he hasn't done anything out of the ordinary over there either, but I do like the fact that he's put the shelving on those kind of track deals so you can move the shelving up and down as you want. The stuff that's over the workbench, it actually needs to be kind of a fixed place because you need to have your tools on the back of the wall. The workbench, by the way, you can buy a workbench similar to that at Sam's. There he's got his tool chest like I've got back here. He's got room to store upright things like an engine puller.
He's got a drill press and
it's a press.
It's not complicated. I guess the point that I'm trying to make
air
here. So
compressor
once
in the
you get the stuff up on the walls, then paint the floor. And it's a process. And it's going to take you a couple of weeks because the first thing you got to do is you get all of the clean it. And that's the biggest thing. And then you've got to let the concrete dry. If you use a power washer, anything that's wet, you got to let the concrete dry. And then you follow the instructions with the can of paint. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, the can of paint is expensive.
Yeah, it's not paint. It's a
coating,
epoxy,
yeah.
something special for the floor.
And the one that I used last wasn't all that great, but you had to put down a sealer first, and then you put the paint over the top of it.
And make sure you buy one that has a little bit of slip resistance in it, because that can be pretty slick if you paint the floor.
And then don't forget that you need to work on lighting. And lighting is crucial, but there's really a pattern that you need to put the lights up, and you can do it yourself. You don't need to have somebody come over and give you some ideas. But remember, you need to have a light that when you open the hood of the car, wherever the engine is,
It's lighting under there for you.
It's lighting under there, so it's got to be kind of over where the bumper would be at the point where the car is. And then the center lights, you need to have them on the either side of the cars. So if you have a two-car garage, you have to have a minimum of at least 3 lights across there, where the places that you would walk, because that's and really, in essence, that's really all it takes. It's not. It's just time-consuming, but you can make your car garage look just like that.
And you want the white light of a fluorescent or an LED,
Absolutely.
not the yellow light that you get with a bulb.
That's correct. No more bulbs. Bulbs are a thing of the past, and we don't want to jack with those ever again the rest of our lives.
But I bet you his hot water heater isn't leaking.
No.
I'll bet it's not, and you notice that he's got that extra insulation on it as well.
Makes it look like a baked potato.
So some of the headlines making automotive news stories this week, coming up next on the In Wheel Time program.
GTG, BRB, OMW, be there in a few. You may think that these kinds of texts are fine because of their length, and you can easily send them at a stoplight. But no, answering one text can take your attention away from the road for 5 seconds. And traveling at 55 miles an hour, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Make good decisions, don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Texas Truck Works is your go-to truck customizer. From mild-to-wild lift kits, custom wheels, and steering and handling enhancements to the best personal and commercial wraps, Texas Truck Works delivers. Let Texas Truck Works founder Scott Stevens help you get the most out of your truck or Jeep. Texas Truck Works has decades of customizing experience, including power adders and complete engine swaps. Let the Texas Truck Works team design an upgrade plan that fits your budget. Get truck attitude today at TexasTruckWorks.com.
Welcome back. It's the In Wheel Time show on this 4th of July. Thanks so much for joining us. We're just about out of time, but before we leave you, I want to give you some of the stories making auto news headlines this week. No surprise here, but I guess the surprising part to me about car sales is most of the manufacturers are now just doing only quarterly reports as opposed to the monthly things.
Right.
So second quarter U.S. sales slumped 34% at GM, 39% at FCA, and 50% at Nissan, reflecting sharply lower fleet and retail deliveries. GM's economist warned the path forward may not be linear as COVID-19 infections continue to rise. June volume fell 27% at Toyota and 22% at Hyundai. Still, the next few months, when government stimulus programs run out and additional jobless benefits expire and unemployment is expected to remain elevated, will provide another test of consumer resiliency. Oh, here's one. Dodge killing 2 nameplates that account for nearly half of its U.S. sales in the coming months to complete its transformation from a collection of pleasant people haulers into an army of asphalt-eating muscle machines. Thank you, Vince Bond Jr. at Automotive News, for all of those fine adjectives that you use there. Limited run Hellcat version of the Durango.
Wow. Saw that, yeah.
And an 807 horsepower Challenger are on the way as the brand loses the last of the relics from its former life, the Journey crossover and the venerable Grand Caravan minivan.
Oh, man.
26th. Yeah, darn.
No, the Journey, but the minivan, I mean, I still have a use for that thing.
Yeah, and somebody will make minivans, but, it just ain't making any dough.
So you heard Ford is going to partner with Disney to reveal the new Bronco.
Yes.
I thought that was an interesting story.
Yes, matter of fact, I have that.
Oh,
Do you have
sorry,
the
I
date?
didn't mean,
No.
I just got short pieces of it.
Yeah, so that's going to happen on July the 13th. And so it's going to be on ESPN, ABC, and National Geographic. That will air during the first commercial break in the 8 p.m. hour. I don't know whether that's Eastern or Central, probably Eastern. All 3 films will be available on Hulu the following day. Ford will be taking $100 refundable deposits for the Bronco following the July 13th reveal.
And they're starting to put little teasers out. You know, I posted one up that they had put on their Instagram page, just kind of showing a little bit of the Bronco. It's going to be pretty cool.
By the way, did you hear that Lincoln confirmed Wednesday that it is going to end production of the Continental?
I'm not surprised.
At the end of 2020 as the luxury brand abandons sedans. Everybody's abandoning sedans. U.S. sales of the Continental, reintroduced in 2016, slowed in recent years as customers shifted to the brand's growing crossover lineup. Lincoln announced this year that it would end production of its other sedan, the MKZ, at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. And Tesla blows past Toyota to become the most valuable automaker in the world, which really surprised me.
Do you think that will continue?
Yeah, I actually do. I think some of it's because Tesla's a little overvalued, but
a little.
Well, yeah, they're coming to Texas.
By the
way, he
way,
bought a whole bunch of land up near Austin.
Kia sees its next generation mid-size sedan as such an upgrade from the interior and exterior styling to the high output engine and newly available all-wheel drive that the Korean automaker is changing the name. The 5th iteration of the sedan will drop the Optima badge in favor of the K5.
Mistake.
K5?
The K5.
Because they have this K9.
Well, yeah.
K900. K900.
The sedan called the K9 in its home market and the K900 in the U.S. to avoid any canine association. Yeah. There's that. So, oops. Yeah. Just saying.
Just saying.
Well, that's it for today's 4th of July In-Wheel Time Car Show. When you're on Facebook, please give us a like and tell your friends about us. You'll get Conrad's Unicorn hunting features along with all things automotive all week long. The In-Wheel Time Car Show streams on Facebook.com/InWheelTime, YouTube, and InWheelTime.com. Podcasts are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher Radio, iHeart Podcast, Google Podcast, and Podcast Addict. Special thanks to all of our guests today. The chief engineer is the fabulous David Ainsley. Our video and sales director, the man about town, Jeffrey Zekin, and also Tire Queen. This piece of mayhem produced, written, and directed by Don Armstrong. Please forgive me. For booking agent and podcast massager, Mike Out of This World Mars, and His Highness, King Conrad DeLong, I'm Don Armstrong saying so long for now. We hope you'll join us live every Saturday, 10 to noon, right here on the Smoke and Mirrors Network. Thanks for being part of the In-Wheel Time family. Enjoy your weekend. Mask up. Be fabulous. Wash those nasty hands and stay sanitary like you know you want to. Have a great 4th of July. We'll see you next week.